Welcome back! Yay, more videos about Supreme Kai. If it seems like I'm dragging this Supreme Kai topic out longer than I should, it's because I am. I'm lazy. Coming up with new video ideas is hard work, and I'm lazy, so I'm gonna milk this for everything that I can. Now, I hope that me being lazy, though, is not gonna prevent you from subscribing to the channel and liking the video, though, right? It's not, is it? That's a joke, obviously. So the last video in this series, though, was about all the Supreme Kai from Universe 7, past, present, and future, except for Shin, Kabito, future Shin, and future Kabito. If you watched the video, you might also remember that I said that there is a difference in a Supreme Kai and the Supreme Kai, and I didn't really elaborate on that very much. And well, Kabito just happens to be a Supreme Kai who is not the Supreme Kai. He's one of several different ranks or roles that a Supreme Kai can fill. Both versions of Shin and Kabito will be the topic of the next video in the series, but for now, before I talk about them, I think that I should probably explain what the different ranks and the roles of a Supreme Kai are, what they can be. So that's what this video is going to be about. So Dragon Ball's cosmology is fairly complex. It really doesn't have to be, but the series itself is extremely inconsistent. Things that we know to be true at one point or in one instance are not necessarily going to be true at all times. Some of what I'm going to say in this video is going to contradict things that I've said in previous videos, and I'm also going to be repeating things that I have said as well. If you have been following the series, I do realize that I say some things that I could have probably left out, but I'm not making this video assuming that the people watching have watched the previous videos in the series. So just bear with me. Now, if you've not watched any of the previous videos in the series and you're confused about something, feel free to ask questions. So all members of the Shinjin race are born from the fruit produced by the Kaiju tree on their home world of Kai-Shin. The tree produces two variations of the fruit, a common variation and a golden variation, and every Shinjin born from the golden fruit are born Supreme Kai. However, that does not mean that all Supreme Kai are born from the golden fruit. It's possible for a lower Kai to be elevated to the position. There are several ranks of Supreme Kai that are not considered the Supreme Kai, and for one of them, being a Shinjin is not even a requirement. So, the ranks of Supreme Kai, Universe 7 kind of makes things confusing because the way that things are now and the way that things appear to be across the entire multiverse are not the way that things always have been in Universe 7, and for that reason the Grand Supreme Kai is not going to be included in this video, in this list. I'm going to mention him once or twice, but if you want to know more about him, he is explained in the last video in this series. So we have the Supreme Kai, the Attendant Supreme Kai, a Supreme Kai Apprentice, and a Supreme Kai Disciple. We're going to move forward with the assumption that, other than the Supreme Kai, a Supreme Kai is able to fill one or all of the roles at the exact same time. We also have the Supreme Kai of Time, if you want to consider non-canon characters, and there's also one Supreme Kai that's kind of the Supreme Kai, despite the fact that he probably shouldn't be. So Supreme Kai. I've explained this in a couple of previous videos, so I'm not going to go into much detail here. The Supreme Kai, or Grand Supreme Kai, if we're talking about Universe 7 or the past Universe 7, along with the Gods of Destruction, are the highest ranking gods in their respective universes. They're the rulers. However, while the Destroyers destroy, the Supreme Kai create. They're tasked with watching over and nurturing life in their universe. They're peaceful observers, they're protectors, and while there's never been directly shown, they do have the ability to create the circumstances that lead to the development of life. And they do have the ability to create planets. They wear a pair of golden Potara earrings which show their rank, and their Potara are the only ones that can actually cause the Potara fusion. They're also the only deities permitted to time travel, which they do with the use of their time rings. We've been introduced to all 12 of the Supreme Kai from all 12 of the universes, but the most significant ones are going to be Shin, Gowasu, and Fuwa. Attendant Supreme Kai. I said that Kabito filled one of the roles, or one of the ranks I'm going to be talking about in this video, and this is it. This is the one. It's a fairly basic role, there's not really much to say about it. They act as the aides of the Supreme Kai, as well as their bodyguards. Like the Supreme Kai, they also wear a set of Potara earrings to signify their rank, but theirs are green and they cannot cause a Potara fusion. Now, each Supreme Kai has an attendant, but we have only seen 2 of them. One of them being Kabito, who is Shin's attendant, as well as Fuwa's attendant, whose name we do not even know. Fuwa is the Supreme Kai from Universe 6, if you're wondering. You could also argue that Zamasu is an attendant Supreme Kai, or he was, in Universe 10, since he does things that you would expect an attendant to do. However, this was not his only purpose. The Supreme Kai Apprentices. A Supreme Kai Apprentice is the Shinjin that a Supreme Kai chose to be their successor. The selection process is not limited to only other born Supreme Kai, making it possible for a lower Kai to be selected and eventually fill the role. During their training, though, they act as both an apprentice and as an attendant. They're not yet considered the Supreme Kai, obviously. However, in certain circumstances and certain situations, it's possible for their master to temporarily promote them to Supreme Kai. Based on what we know about Shin and Zamasu, it appears that when any Kai becomes a Supreme Kai apprentice, they become the Supreme Kai the moment their master is killed. This is Zamasu's true role. He was the North Kai in Universe 10. Gowasu chose him to be a successor. Gowasu's death made him the Supreme Kai, which explains why Zamasu was able to use the time rings. Supreme Kai Disciple. This is as close to being a Supreme Kai as a non-Shinjin can be. When a Supreme Kai deems somebody worthy of becoming a disciple, a ritual is performed, and the disciple's power gets unlocked past one's potential, far beyond its limits, and also grants them healing abilities. But honestly, kind of just seems like that does not apply to everybody. What makes this whole thing kind of stupid, though, this whole rank right here, is if a disciple becomes a full Supreme Kai, they lose their healing abilities because reasons. I don't know why. They don't really ever explain them. They take an amazingly impressive and powerful ability away from them when they become stronger, because that makes sense. It's one of those things that prove Dragon Ball's logic is non-existent. Now, there are a lot of disciples that we have seen. Shin was the disciple of the Grand Supreme Kai. Kabito was the disciple of Shin. Future Kabito is the disciple of Future Shin. Future Zamasu is the disciple of Goku Black. Gohan is the disciple of Old Kai. And Future Trunks is the disciple of Future Shin. And that about wraps it up. Those are the different ranks of Supreme Kai, or different roles that Supreme Kai can play. The next video in the series will be about Shin and Kabito. But for now, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and I will see you guys next time.